What's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So, I've been seeing a lot of traffic online in regards to the Dragon's Gas deal, and everyone seems to be pointing fingers at the government for the collapse of the Dragon's Gas deal, which I find absolutely astonishing. It just plays or shows the ignorance involved in what people know and don't know about this deal. I want to say this right. The failure of the Dragon's Gas deal is not a UNC or a PNM issue. This had very little to do with the serving government of Trinidad right now, which happens to be the PNM. It has nothing to do with Stuart Young. It has nothing to do with the last Prime Minister, Keith Rowley. It has everything to do with Donald Trump, Venezuela, and the US sanctions that America has placed on Venezuela and have been for the last how many years. This started happening back in 2017, remember, when Trump placed sanctions on Venezuela. So today I wanted to break it down to you, why this is such a terrible, terrible situation for Trinidad, who have fallen foul of geopolitics. Venezuela is probably the largest, if not the largest, proven gas reserves in the world. Not just in our part of the world, not just in South America or the Caribbean, in the world, the largest gas reserve in the world. And the Dragon's Gas field is just off the coast, not far from the Hibiscus platform, which belongs to Trinidad, right? So this is why it's so important, right? This is why this deal would have been such a great deal for Trinidad and Tobago. The fact that the Hibiscus plant is so nearby to the Dragon's Gas field in Venezuela, it means that we would have the economics was already there. The setup was already there to transport the gas from the Dragon's Gas field to Trinidad. So the pipeline's already set up and ready to go because of the Hibiscus platform that we already run, which almost runs adjacent to where the Dragon's Gas field has been found. So everything's in place already and ready to go. So it made perfect economic and financial sense to set up, or with the setup of the Dragon's Gas field, to supply the energy to Trinidad. I don't know if you know, but Trinidad is facing almost a crisis when it comes to gas. We don't have enough to keep up the running of our own plants in Trinidad, right? Point Lisas is struggling and factories are shutting down. People are obviously losing jobs. We don't have to go back into the closure of Petrotrin. The Dragon's Gas deal would have potentially solved all of that. We could have pipes piped in cheap gas from Venezuela, process it at Hibiscus, and powered our entire downstream sector in Trinidad. That means more jobs. We'd have obviously more exports, more foreign exchange, and economic growth in Trinidad for years. This is what it potentially meant for Trinidad, right? Like I said, the Hibiscus platform is literally adjacent to the Dragon's Gas field. So it was a pretty much an easy setup for us. I mean, if you guys don't know about this or know about the Hibiscus plant that provides oil and gas to Trinidad and the rest of the world, Google it. Find out your information, learn about it, and have some knowledge about it before you go online and put these ridiculous remarks. That's essentially partisan politics, right? I'm a supporter of the UNC, and that's all. I put UNC before country. Well, I'm a supporter of the PNM, and I put PNM before country. Whichever side you sway towards, you have to put the country first. The fact that you are celebrating this deal not going through, and you have the leader of the UNC claiming this is vindication, it shows a level of immaturity or docile thinking that's, I don't know, it's childish almost. You can't celebrate this. This is a big loss. This is a big loss for Trinidad. Whichever way you look at it, this has nothing to do with politics. This is a huge loss for Trinidad. This would have been worth billion to the economy if used properly. If the money made obviously was distributed evenly back to the people in Trinidad. Of course, BP and Shell also was supposed to play a part in the distribution of this gas, this Dragon's gas field project. Now, it's the likelihood of it going through. Well, it's not going through. I said the likelihood. I'm talking maybe post Donald Trump. Maybe the deal may be back on the table. There's so much gas there. There's so much gas available. And because we're in such close proximity to Venezuela, it makes complete sense that we work with Venezuela to get a share of that gas. And Venezuela is a desperate country in desperate need of foreign exchange. They do not have trade they cannot trade with America because of all the sanctions placed on them by America. That's both under the Trump and the Biden administration. So Venezuela is in a terrible position. And if Venezuela is in a terrible position, that means Trinidad is potentially in a terrible position because we will be having a lot more asylum seekers coming from Venezuela to Trinidad. Again, this is why this deal should be such or potentially would have been a great deal for not just Trinidad, but for Venezuela as well. And you could see the effect of Venezuela doing well economically means that there is less Venezuelan migrants coming to Trinidad, flooding the system that's already flooded with people who cannot find work, cannot get the decent healthcare, can't get find a dentist, it just puts another strain on our economy by having people coming into an economy that's already, for the most part, struggling. So this is why I believe people need to almost wake up. And, the PNM government did their part. They negotiated a deal. They had an agreement in place with Venezuela. Shell was involved. Donald Trump his administration has placed heavy sanctions on Venezuela that block companies like Shell from doing business there. And even if Trinidad was ready to go, you can't do anything if the bully that's America, the bully that's Donald Trump gets involved and tell you, listen, you're not having this deal. We're supposed to be a sovereign nation. Sovereignty means that we are in charge of ourselves. Sovereignty means the house belongs to me. I decide the rules and regulation, who I do deals with and who I don't do deals with. That's essentially what sovereignty is. It's proven far from the truth when it comes to America and Donald Trump. And the reason we are in the pocket of America because we do so much trade with America. We sell billions of our products to America, and we buy a lot of our products from America. In fact, we buy more from America than we sell to America. So we trade with America at a deficit. That's something that people should be aware of. We trade with America at a deficit. That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing necessarily, but we do trade and we do 40% of our trade with America. Hence why Stuart Young has made the decision he made. He's announced that the Dragon's gas deal is all but dead. He's suggested that he will be talking to Marco Rubio, who is a U.S. Secretary of State. That's not going to go anywhere. Marco Rubio hasn't got a say in any of this. He came to the Caribbean, paraded around. You saw him talking to politicians, shaking hands. At the end of the day, Donald Trump runs this show. And Donald Trump hates Nicolas Maduro. And he would do anything to see Venezuela destroyed. The reasons given are nothing but hypocritical. His disagreement with the Venezuelan regime, etc., etc. Like he cares about the Venezuelan people. He doesn't care about the Venezuelan people. He doesn't give a damn about them. And the only way I could see this being retracted or changed is if there's a regime change in Venezuela to what the American wants. They could put whoever they want in charge, and that way they're now in charge, or they take charge of the Dragon's gas field and distribute it to the way they want to. This is what America will potentially do, or what they are trying to do. They've done it throughout the world. They've done it throughout history. Get rid of regimes, put a puppet regime in, one they could control, and that way they could control the natural resources in that country. So I don't know where this goes from here. I think we are, like we know, the deal is completely dead. This is not about local politics. This is geopolitics. This is international politics at hand here. And Trinidad is getting being squeezed out in the middle of, you could say, a U.S. foreign policy on Venezuela and the sanctions they've placed on them. The long and short of it, we have a neighbor in Venezuela sitting on trillions of cubic feet of gas, and it's literally right next to us. We have the plants, we have the pipelines to process it, but we can't touch it because America says so, because Washington said so, because Donald Trump says so. And that's a problem. That has nothing to do with party politics or local party politics in Trinidad. It's purely geopolitics, it's purely Washington, it's purely America, and whatever America says to us, we tend to obey. We are not as sovereign as we tend to believe or like to believe. So this is where we need to start having a serious conversation about where we stand in all of this and how we move forward. So when you hear people online or on the radio blaming the government, just remember this wasn't our fault, or this wasn't the government's fault. The government tried to do a deal with Venezuela, and it wasn't Venezuela's fault that it hasn't gone through. Venezuela agreed the deal, Shell agreed the deal, BP agreed the deal, and CNG agreed the deal. But like I said, if America doesn't agree, then the deal doesn't happen. This is essentially a missed opportunity. Like I said, caused by global politics. We need leadership that understands this game moving forward. We need leadership that understands this game moving forward and can play it. Trinidad has potential, but if we keep playing small and playing political, we will keep missing out on opportunities like this. So we have to demand better. We have to demand better. You know, we have to. I don't know where we go from here. Like I've said to you in previous videos, we have a long 4 years ahead of us under this regime in America. And if we keep bowing to them, it only gets harder. So we need to look at, like I've said many times, again, diversifying our economy. We need to look at alternatives. We need to stop this nonsense of looking at America as the daddy of the house, and we need to find alternatives of countries that would trade with us on an equal playing field and not dictate to us. We don't live in a dictatorship, and we shouldn't be dictated to by any country, let alone America. But you understand why we are, because currently, if we trade with them predominantly and there is no alternative, whatever they say goes. And this is what's happening to us. This is what's happening to us. And we are going to see, we are not going to feel the effects of this Dragon's gas deal immediately, because there wasn't a deal in the first place. So anyone saying what's going to happen now, except you're not going to feel the effects of this deal right now. You're not going to feel it immediately. You're not going to see, the effects of it. But long term, in terms of energy security, which is at the core of every country, energy security is at the core. Alongside food, energy security. Well, you got to turn the lights on. You got to have the gas to cook your food. So this is why energy security is so pivotal to every country, and to secure it with this Dragon gas deal would have been great for Trinidad. But nonetheless, it's not like to go through. So I hope you have a better understanding of what this Dragon's gas deal is. It's not partisan politics. There's nothing to do with the PNM falling foul or not doing their job. They tried their best to get this deal to go through. They had an agreement with Shell and BP. It's just because Donald Trump and Washington told us not to do it, or we can't do it, or we're not allowed to do it because they do not like Venezuela. And if we were to go ahead and do it, then we would lose, or he'd probably place, just like he's done to China, increase the tariffs on Trinidad to the point where we will suffer even more. And that's the reality. That's the Dragon's gas deal. Much love, God bless, and I'll see you guys on my next video. For now, take care. Peace.